Yeah, do you want to just start a little mini show right here and go off the cuff?
Yeah, let's do
All
it.
right.
Have you thought about it?
A little bit. And I thought about it, and then I started thinking of it in a different way that has a little more merit to it, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of because it's gonna be hair bands, man. I'm gonna think
Well,
of
yeah,
hair,
but
right?
yeah, when I give you some of my reasonings of why some of them didn't, then you might trigger your thoughts a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of
Dude.
Check This Out. This is our full form show where we go more than 15 minutes watching review videos. Dave's got a pretty interesting subject that he mentioned to me, and that we make an episode out of it. So Dave, you want to roll it out there?
Yeah, excuse the reading glasses.
Where I got more.
Otherwise I wouldn't be able to read this. So I saw, I think it was a TikTok or Reels on Facebook, and this guy just posed this question: if grunge never happened and commercial metal continued to dominate the radio and MTV through the 90s, who would have been the biggest band of the decade?
And that decade is like, that's just for clarification purposes. That would have been what, 90 to 2000?
Yeah, I would guess. Yeah, that's that'd be fair to say. Um, yeah, because what, grunge broke like 90, 91.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah. The grunge apocalypse.
So, I mean, you think of the big hair metal bands or metal bands are commercial. I would call them commercial metal. um, Poison, Warrant, Motley Crue,
Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses, Dokken, Tesla. You know, that whole vein of bands. And I thought of a couple that may have done it, but first off, a couple that I think that may be the obvious choices that would not. And I don't think Poison would have been one of the bands to continue, just based on the fact that in the late 80s, they were starting to have trouble with CC DeVille and his I think it was alcoholism, and
So
wasn't,
definitely sort of form of substance abuse. Yeah.
yeah, and he was not performing well. So I thought of that line of thinking when I tried to think of bands that would actually be able to stay together and continue through. So I have a one or two that I think may have helped carry the torch. I don't. What do you have any thoughts so far?
I mean, the struggle I have is like this band was already, I think, left to represent the heavy metal hard rock genre in the first place, and that would have been Metallica. Like, I still think they were somewhat relevant. I mean, you and I went and saw them, I think even after grunge had already broke, and it was a packed stadium, right? I think it was, what, wasn't that the Palace of Auburn Hills, which is no longer there?
Yeah, 91. Would you consider them like commercial metal?
Well, this is
I
going to
mean,
religious debate.
ultimately,
Yeah, I think
that's a borderline.
after the Black Album, they were pretty much commercialized, right? They had kind of turned to more of a pop. I mean, they were more on the radio than they ever were in the previous albums, right?
Right.
So I think I put them in that category. Would have had more fans, listeners. They probably would have taken in more revenue, more album sales, if grunge never broke, right? If you think about there just being hard rock and heavy metal bands through 2000.
Right. So what bands, I mean, trying to, it's really tough to try to reimagine, a history, but in this way. But some of these bands basically became irrelevant because of grunge. So you got to try to think of it in that sense, that so if grunge never happened, they would have never had that challenge to compete against that new genre of music.
Yeah.
So
I mean, So if we go down that route, then is we just talking about heavy metal and hard rock? Or are we talking about all the other genres of music that were out there that weren't considered grunge?
Well, this question was specifically to the commercial metal, which I would, categorize as, those um, big stage acts, Bon Jovi,
Okay,
Def
yeah.
Leppard, not the heavier bands like Megadeth or Pantera, that line of bands. More
So
of the
you're ruling out all of eternal alternative rock as well, though, because grunge was like a category in that. So like the Soundgardens, Nirvana,
yeah.
Fighters. Like what about a band like the Smashing Pumpkins, which was considered more like shoegaze rock than it was grunge?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm not trying to change the question. If we stick with hard rock and heavy metal, we can still wax on
Yeah, I
that.
think for this, so it's not a 2 hour show. Just try to stick
We
to
haven't had a
the
2 hour show in a while.
try to stick to the
Yeah.
glam rock bands. And
Okay.
I would almost, it would be kind of tough for me to even put Van Halen in that. I don't know. They're like another one of those borderline glam because they were without Sammy. I mean, without David Lee Roth, who was their flashy type singer.
David was the glam.
He was the glam. So, um, but
Well, if that's the case, then David Lee Roth on his own, Eat 'Em and Smile. Uh,
yeah,
that was an amazing album. I keep talking about this on episodes. Like, if you haven't checked out Eat 'Em and Smile, it is like, screw you guys, Van Halen. Screw you guys. I'm gonna start my own band. And you had just amazing artists in the band. Plus, you had a front man like David Lee Roth. So maybe that would be a one. I think he kind of fizzled out too. So maybe because of grunge, he just kind of fell out of relevance, right?
yeah. I mean, and they had a couple of the big hits, but they didn't. He never did dominate like someone like Poison did for hit after hit after hit, or
Yeah.
um like, I mean, Warrant even had hit after hit for a while there.
They
But
did.
yeah, and that one may, I mean, they may be one of the contenders just because I think they fell victim of the grunge. I mean, because they were really good, and I don't think Janie Lane had problems until much later. Um, but
It's a good one.
that
Um,
that would be one of my choices, but not my number one choice. But other bands, let's try to eliminate some bands based on the way they were trending regardless, trying to think of
okay,
some
I got one. I got one that came up that I think would still have gone further. Motley Crue.
I could see that a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah,
because they had some strong albums in there.
yeah.
Um,
Dr. Feelgood was a really good album.
Theater of Pain. Wow, this is no research and pre-planning. I can't go to my list of stuff, so these are all off the top of our head right here.
Yeah, same here.
Um,
Talked about this, but we didn't do any homework, and now we're just like, let's do it. Let's see what happens. So we're probably missing a ton of bands. So if you are thinking of some bands that we don't talk about during this episode, please put them in the comments below. We'll review them. We might do a follow-up to this, but like, we'd like to hear who you think would have made it through and have been a successful heavy metal or hard rock band had grunge never occurred in the 90s, the early 90s.
I think one of the latecomers to that scene could have had potential, but they got kind of snuffed out pretty quickly, and that was White Lion. They
Wait,
had
wait.
Wait, yep, where the children go or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Little Fighter.
yeah,
That's my
they
favorite one.
they had some really good ones. Same with this might get a few laughs from the peanut gallery, but Nelson, they had
Oh,
the Nelson brothers. They did they may have, but I don't think they would have been the dominant one. Who else could we eliminate? I think just based on
Winger. They would
Winger.
have gone to jail because they wrote a song. She's only 17, so we all know they were doing some illegal things. So like Winger's in
Yeah.
jail, right?
But I'm gonna throw out the one I think would have dominated, just because they didn't have any band turmoil. They had multiple great albums, and that was Tesla. Great radio controversy, Mechanical Resonance. Was it Edison's Medicine, or what was that? I can't remember the name of that album, but and they pretty much toured straight through and are still touring. So, you know, they didn't have the band turmoil, at least publicly, as far as I know. His voice is still strong. The band is still tight. We got to see them a couple of years ago, and it was like we were watching them from the 80s.
Yeah.
So I think they would get my vote, probably as maybe the band that would have dominated the 90s.
Yeah. Tesla, I could see that from a hard rock perspective, not necessarily heavy metal, but definitely hard rock. Oh, this is how about the Black Crowes?
I was just thinking of that, but I think that would be one that we would probably be able to eliminate, just based on the brothers
Brownson
infight.
Brothers. Yeah.
Yeah, they were button heads and leading to their breakup, which happened, and then they had the long hiatus and ultimately came back together. But
They had a great Southern rock kind of sound to them too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I like the fact that, because Stone Temple Pilots, I know we talk about grunge, but like the follow-up to Stone Temple Pilots was a combination of Stone Temple Pilots and Guns N' Roses in Velvet Revolver, which I love the work that they did, and especially the first album that they did. It was a Big Machine, I think was the name of the album. It's still in my rotation, but I just think you bring in all the elements were there, all the elements. I liked it. But anyways, we're talking about hard rock and heavy metal. Whitesnake.
That's a tough one.
I have a follow-up to this question, and maybe this is a different episode or none at all, but the bands that we're talking about, all of them, almost all of them, mostly all of them, objectified women in their videos and in their songs. I feel like none of that shit would have happened today. If you came out with She's Only 17, or you tried to do the Still of the Night video with Tawny Katane romping around on two Jaguar cars, like, I don't think that stuff flies today. I feel like it would just not go well. Like,
Probably
and I know
not.
crazy stuff today, but I feel like that aspect of it, there's just like, I don't know, just this male chauvinistic attitude and that kind of rock. Maybe it was just the videos. Maybe the people making the videos were like, this song sucks. We need to put some good looking people in it. Let's do that. But anyways.
Yeah, you're right. That probably is a whole nother show.
Okay, we'll cut that out then.
No, it's fine. But yeah, we could talk about that for a while, and it could go multiple ways.
There's a lot of irony in this, because as a teenager during that time, I'm like, oh yeah, but like, it's not, that would not fly today. No way. Yeah, if I even showed my kids like a She's My Cherry Pie video
Cherry
from
Pie, I was just
like,
gonna say,
what the hell, Dad? What are you doing?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of some of the bands from that time.
I mean, let's go heavy metal for a second, right? Like Anthrax. What about those guys? And they paired up with like Public Enemy to do some really cool stuff on the Attack of Bees. Like they had something going on there.
Yeah, Bring the Noise.
Yeah. Ozzy. He'd be on this like 15th guitarist, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a couple more bands that I was trying to think of. Who was the band that was that wore all black and yellow? Striper.
Yeah.
That was in that. Rat. There's another one.
Yeah. Dokken.
those, I wonder if those type of bands could have excelled because they were still going fairly strong, and then they all kind of, well, we keep going back to the main subject title, but grunge kind of just snuffed out a lot of that. Um, oh, here's one, Cinderella.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, now that I got my research folder open, we got Cinderella, the Bullet Boys.
All these are casualties of grunge.
Yep. Enough's enough.
We watched. There's that movie. What was it with Wahlberg, Rockstar, right? Where you
Yeah,
saw him wanting to be in this like rock band of that age, right? And then at the end of the movie, it looks like he kind of um adopted grunge and started to do more of a grunge type thing.
yeah.
I wonder, do we know any bands that kind of made that transition from rock, hard rock, heavy metal to grunge?
That's a good question.
And it's kind of like an inverse sellout because grunge was like the anti-establishment thing, and everybody that was a rock band was on a label and they were flying jets around and doing all these big stadium shows. And grunge was like, let's go to the smallest, dirtiest club and play and have fun, right? Like it was
Right.
totally different at the time. Which I
I
think was the
can't,
appeal that made it like, sorry, this isn't about
no,
grunge.
I can't think of any band that transitioned to that style. I mean, the only thing I could think of was Brett Michael kind of transitioned into like didn't he try to do country for a bit? Maybe he just played some of his songs in a
Twangy
twangy way. Yeah.
stick. Yeah.
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 Europe,
Europe.
Final Countdown, Carrie. I don't know. That didn't seem like they had a strong enough catalog to continue through the 90s.
What about Faith No
King,
More?
that could be.
I mean, Epic was a pretty hard, heavy album. Their
Yeah, I
earlier
don't
stuff
know.
was more punk,
I
and they
don't know what they did after. Did they do anything after?
yeah,
If
they
they,
did. At least I know one more album, Angel Dust, and there was one more after that. They've got a couple albums, and I think they're still putting them out. But to me, Epic in that Epic came out, I think in '90, was like I mean, to me, it was like a heavy metal.
yeah,
Sorry, it wasn't the song Epic was their hit, right? The What's It, and he was rapping through the whole thing. The Real Thing, I think, was the name of the album.
yes.
Yeah.
Ah,
So,
you pulled that one out.
well, I'm a Faith No More fan. So
Yeah,
if you don't know Faith No More, if, if you know what was the show Dirty Jobs, the soundtrack is one of their songs. So
yeah,
Dirty Job is someone's got it.
yeah. And song that was off of that album, I think too.
Yep. That was
Um, so I'm
Caroline.
gonna list a couple more of these bands. Kingdom Come, that was the one I was thinking of. They were they were more of a they were not glam at all, but they had that sound, but well, no, not even. They were more of a rock. They were kind of like a straight up rock. LA Guns. Let's see. Poison. Skid Row. I don't think they would not have survived they would, because of their whole thing with Sebastian Bach.
If I remember correctly, didn't he like have a vocal problem? Like it just gave up? Or let me look at I want to go look on yeah, they only put out 2 albums. Kidding me. So yes, they had a self-titled album in 1989 called Skid Row. Very creative. Followed up in 1991 with the album Slave to the Grind.
That's
That
one.
was a good album. It had it was a great album. It was a good follow-up. And then that was it until literally the entire musical universe decided, hey, we're all at home. Let's do an album. And they put one out in 22. So
Without Sebastian Bach.
yeah, it's called The Gang's All Here. I've not listened to it. Yeah, that's okay. All good. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I'll take that back. There's more. They did put out a bunch of stuff. So, well, the 2 that I talked about, plus the one in 22, I guess in 1995, they put out this one called Subhuman Race. Never heard of it, but yeah, without Sebastian and his pipes, that band, I think to me, like, was different, right?
Yeah.
Oh, good band. I like the band. It's great.
So, and yeah, I think of the groups that we've mentioned, I think there's a couple that could have carried the banner or the flag or whatever, however you want to call it, the torch. There you go, the torch. Def Leppard, I think, would have done it.
You're cheating, aren't you? You already had this already set up.
No, I didn't. I was thinking of Def Leppard, but I had forgotten about them until
You're
this
coming up with
show.
really good ones, Dave. Come on.
Well, I popped open my 90s rock folder in my music library.
Oh, okay, that helps.
So I can see some of these bands. Some of them I still don't know, even looking at their name. But I think for me, it's between Tesla and Def Leppard.
I have 90s music. Why do I have? Yeah, it's tough. The only thing I can come up with is Metallica. And I think I might, I don't know, Skid Row to me, because Sebastian was already failing. In my mind, he was already out after the second album. Maybe Guns N' Roses would have gone a little bit further, I think.
That's possible. So, all right, well,
there we are. That's our
yeah.
casualties of grunge. Rest in peace.
Yep.
Do we kill this? Like,
yeah,
rock?
This one's starting to fade.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching. Like and subscribe, share, check out some of our other content. We do reaction videos, product reviews, skydiving, streaking in the quad.
We're going streaking!
What else do we do, Dave?
I don't know. I can't even think of.
All right. Like and subscribe. Take care, everybody.
Yeah.